The stars sparkled like diamonds in the blackness of space, casting their distant light across a vast galaxy teeming with countless civilizations. To the aliens who inhabited it, the universe was a place of strange and fascinating creatures, each with its own strengths, weaknesses, and quirks. But there was one species, often overlooked by the galactic community, that commanded the deepest and most unexpected form of respect: humans. On Earth, humanity had long struggled with their place in the cosmos, often regarded as nothing more than a young, primitive species in comparison to the other, far older races. Yet there was something about humans, something buried beneath the layers of their emotional complexity, that the other species could not quite explain. They had heard the rumors, whispers in the dark corners of space about a power unlike any other, something that set humanity apart from the rest of the universe. But these were just stories, mere folklore, right? Wrong. When humans got angry, the universe trembled. The other species couldn't understand it at first. It wasn't like the other creatures who had natural strengths, be it speed, intellect, or advanced technology. No, human anger was different. It wasn't a force of nature or some biological anomaly. It was something much deeper, more primal. It had been witnessed only once or twice in galactic history, and each time it left civilizations stunned and in fear. There were many species in the galaxy, all with their own talents and technologies, and yet none had quite the same emotional depth as humans. While other creatures could be aggressive or hostile, their rage lacked the raw, uncontrolled potential of human anger. To the ciphers, a race of peace-loving and highly intelligent beings, it was almost impossible to comprehend. For years, they had studied humanity from a distance, watching as the humans fought wars and struggled with their own inner turmoil. But they had missed the most important detail. Humans were not defined by their anger. They were empowered by it. The Typhers had always believed that logical reasoning and peace were the ultimate forces in the universe. They had advanced technologies and capabilities beyond anything the humans could imagine. They knew how to manipulate time, bend energy, and control matter itself. Yet there was something unnerving about the human response to stress, to conflict, and especially to anger. To the Cyphers, it was a mystery that seemed to defy all the rules they had learned about emotional control and restraint. And then it happened. The Cyphers had landed on Earth, confident that their superior knowledge and diplomacy would allow them to form an alliance with the humans. They arrived with calm intentions, bringing with them their finest scholars and emissaries. Their leader, Sirac, stood proudly at the head of the delegation, ready to make a historic first contact. "We are here to learn," he told his fellow Cyphers. "We will show the humans the way of peace and reason." As the humans gathered in the grand hall to meet them, the Typhers were full of optimism. They had read about human history, about their wars and struggles, but they believed that a species as advanced as theirs would surely be able to teach these unpredictable humans how to achieve a higher state of existence. What the Cyphers didn't anticipate was that human emotions were not as easily controlled as they had hoped. The meeting started calmly, with both sides exchanging pleasantries and formalities. But as the conversation shifted to matters of territory, something unexpected occurred. A minor misunderstanding, something that would have been easily brushed aside by any other species, suddenly sent a ripple through the room. The human ambassador, a woman named Captain Alina, was the one who spoke up. Her voice was firm, but there was an edge of frustration in her tone. She demanded that the Cyphers reconsider their claims on Earth's nearby planets, pointing out the rights humans had to these territories. The Cyphers, of course, did not understand. To them, it was a trivial matter. They had access to countless star systems, many of which they had explored and studied for centuries. What was a few planets to them? But for the humans, it wasn't just a matter of territory. It was a matter of survival, of pride. And when humans felt threatened, when their survival was on the line, they did not react like any other species. The stars sparkled like diamonds in the blackness of space, casting their distant light across a vast galaxy teeming with countless civilizations. To the aliens who inhabited it, the universe was a place of strange and fascinating creatures, each with its own strengths, weaknesses, and quirks. But there was one species, often overlooked by the galactic community, that commanded the deepest and most unexpected form of respect: humans. On Earth, humanity had long struggled with their place in the cosmos, often regarded as nothing more than a young, primitive species in comparison to the other, far older races. Yet there was something about humans, something buried beneath the layers of their emotional complexity, that the other species could not quite explain. They had heard the rumors, whispers in the dark corners of space about a power unlike any other, something that set humanity apart from the rest of the universe. But these were just stories, mere folklore, right? Wrong. When humans got angry, the universe trembled. The other species couldn't understand it at first. It wasn't like the other creatures who had natural strengths, be it speed, intellect, or advanced technology. No, human anger was different. It wasn't a force of nature or some biological anomaly. It was something much deeper, more primal. It had been witnessed only once or twice in galactic history, and each time it left civilizations stunned and in fear. There were many species in the galaxy, all with their own talents and technologies, and yet none had quite the same emotional depth as humans. While other creatures could be aggressive or hostile, their rage lacked the raw, uncontrolled potential of human anger. To the ciphers, a race of peace-loving and highly intelligent beings, it was almost impossible to comprehend. For years, they had studied humanity from a distance, watching as the humans fought wars and struggled with their own inner turmoil. But they had missed the most important detail. Humans were not defined by their anger. They were empowered by it. The ciphers had always believed that logical reasoning and peace were the ultimate forces in the universe. They had advanced technologies and capabilities beyond anything the humans could imagine. They knew how to manipulate time, bend energy, and control matter itself. Yet there was something unnerving about the human response to stress, to conflict, and especially to anger. To the ciphers, it was a mystery that seemed to defy all the rules they had learned about emotional control and restraint. And then it happened. The ciphers had landed on Earth, confident that their superior knowledge and diplomacy would allow them to form an alliance with the humans. They arrived with calm intentions, bringing with them their finest scholars and emissaries. Their leader, Serac, stood proudly at the head of the delegation, ready to make a historic first contact. "We are here to learn," he told his fellow ciphers. "We will show the humans the way of peace and reason." As the humans gathered in the grand hall to meet them, the ciphers were full of optimism. They had read about human history, about their wars and struggles, but they believed that a species as advanced as theirs would surely be able to teach these unpredictable humans how to achieve a higher state of existence. What the ciphers didn't anticipate was that human emotions were not as easily controlled as they had hoped. The meeting started calmly, with both sides exchanging pleasantries and formalities. But as the conversation shifted to matters of territory, something unexpected occurred. A minor misunderstanding, something that would have been easily brushed aside by any other species, suddenly sent a ripple through the room. The human ambassador, a woman named Captain Alina, was the one who spoke up. Her voice was firm, but there was an edge of frustration in her tone. She demanded that the ciphers reconsider their claims on Earth's nearby planets, pointing out the rights humans had to these territories. The ciphers, of course, did not understand. To them, it was a trivial matter. They had access to countless star systems, many of which they had explored and studied for centuries. What was a few planets to them? But for the humans, it wasn't just a matter of territory. It was a matter of survival, of pride. And when humans felt threatened, when their survival was on the line, they did not react like any other species. Captain Alina's frustration grew. Her fists clenched, her jaw tightened. The ciphers could see it, but they couldn't understand it. The emotions were foreign to them, unlike anything they had experienced. A calm, reasoned response was the answer they had always believed in. But the human anger, It was something else, something primal. It was like a storm gathering on the horizon, unpredictable and terrifying. In an instant, everything changed. Captain Elena stood up, her body radiating a raw energy that the Typhers had never encountered before. Her eyes flashed with a fury that seemed almost unnatural. The room went silent, the air thick with tension. The Typhers tried to communicate, to calm her down, but their words fell flat. It was as though the very essence of humanity had been unleashed. The humans were not just angry, they were powerful in their anger. The walls of the room began to tremble. The lights flickered. The Typhers could sense a growing pressure, a force that made the very air feel dense and suffocating. It wasn't just her physical presence. They could feel the power of her emotions resonating through the room, through the very fabric of reality itself. The human's rage wasn't just an emotion. It was a force capable of bending the laws of nature, of reshaping the world around them. For the first time in their long existence, the Typhers felt afraid. They had encountered countless species, some stronger, some smarter, but never one like this. The humans weren't just a threat. They were a force of nature, something that could not be predicted or controlled. They had always been underestimated by the galaxy, but the Typhers now realized that underestimating humanity was the gravest mistake one could make. As the tension reached its peak, Captain Elena took a deep breath and composed herself, the anger still simmering beneath the surface. But the damage had been done. The Typhers retreated, their minds reeling from the unexpected power they had just witnessed. They knew that they were not prepared to deal with something as volatile as human anger. They had been so focused on their logic and reason that they had missed the truth. Humans, in their rawest form, were unstoppable. And the universe would soon learn that when humans got angry, there was no escaping the storm that followed. The Typhers, shaken by their encounter with human anger, withdrew from Earth as quickly as they had arrived. Their minds buzzed with a mixture of fear and disbelief. They had never encountered anything like it before, and they were not sure how to react. What they had witnessed was not just a human's emotional outburst, it was something far more profound, something that had the potential to change everything. The more the Typhers tried to rationalize what had happened, the more they realized that the true nature of humanity was not something that could be understood by logic alone. Back on Earth, Captain Elena and her team were left to process the events of that tense meeting. While they had maintained control in front of the Typhers, Elena felt the lingering heat of the anger that had surged through her. She knew, deep down, that it wasn't just about the territorial dispute with the aliens. The incident had been a culmination of years of tension, frustration, and the pressures of being on the edge of galactic society. But to the Typhers, it had been far more than that. They had seen something in her, something terrifying. As days passed, the Typhers continued to study humanity from a distance. They sent out reconnaissance probes to observe the humans' behavior in their natural environment. They watched as humans interacted with one another, saw the way they fought, struggled, and yet somehow managed to rise above their challenges time and time again. The Typhers were intrigued, but also deeply unsettled. There was no other species in the galaxy that could match the humans' emotional volatility, and it terrified them. Meanwhile, on Earth, the news of the Typher delegation's abrupt departure spread like wildfire. The human media was abuzz with speculation. What had happened during the meeting? Why had the aliens left in such a hurry? Some claimed that the Typhers had simply been too arrogant to understand humanity's strength, while others suggested that the aliens were just afraid of humans' unpredictable nature. Captain Elena was summoned to answer questions, but she remained tight-lipped. She knew better than to reveal the true depth of the encounter. But Elena's silence didn't stop the rumors. In the coming weeks, whispers began to spread throughout the galaxy about the humans. The Typhers had returned to their homeworld, and instead of their usual calm and collected demeanor, they spoke with a sense of urgency and caution. They recounted the events on Earth, and their words sent a chill through the galactic community. There is something about humans, Surak, the Typher leader, said in a broadcast to the other species, "something we do not understand." When they get angry, they do not just lash out. They become a force unto themselves, a force we cannot control. The ciphers warn the other species to be cautious. They advise them not to provoke the humans, not to push them into a corner, for it seemed that the fury of a human was unlike anything the galaxy had ever known. There were no words to fully explain what had happened, only that it had left a deep mark on the ciphers' once unchallenged belief in peace and logic. The galaxy had always been a place of order, of reason, and the ciphers had prided themselves on that. But now, they were unsure. Word spread quickly throughout the galaxy. For centuries, the galactic community had been filled with beings who had mastered their emotions. Peace had been the ultimate goal. But the humans? They were wild, untamed. Their emotions ran deep, and they had the potential to unleash something the universe had never seen before. The idea of human anger, the sheer raw power that could be unleashed, was not something anyone could easily ignore. At first, most of the other species scoffed at the warnings. The humans were small, primitive. Surely their emotional outbursts could be contained. But the more they learned about humanity, the more they realized that there was truth in the cipher's warning. They began to study human history, looking for clues about the nature of this emotion they feared so much. The Council of the United Species, a gathering of the galaxy's most powerful and influential races, decided to hold a summit. The topic: humanity. The goal: to decide what should be done about the rising threat. The meeting was tense from the moment it began. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in a vast chamber filled with holographic displays, each one more advanced than the last. But none of their technology, none of their philosophies, could solve the problem that the humans posed. "They are unpredictable," said Orin, the representative from the Solothians, a species known for their highly disciplined minds. "We've observed their patterns of behavior. One moment, they're peaceful, even docile. The next, they can destroy everything in their path. What if we're provoked by one of their leaders? A single human could cause the collapse of an entire civilization." "But their anger is not their only trait," responded Valak, a scholar from the Hethrians, a species with deep knowledge of the universe's energy forces. "Their ability to channel such emotions could be a source of great power, both for creation and destruction. We cannot view this as a weakness alone." The room fell silent. It was clear that no one knew how to approach the humans. Some suggested diplomacy, others proposed isolation, but the fear remained. How could any of them control a species that could harness their most primal emotions so effortlessly? The ciphers, once the ultimate pacifists, began to take a more defensive stance. Their ambassadors quietly met with human diplomats, hoping to understand the true depth of humanity's emotional power. But Captain Alina and her team remained closed off, not willing to reveal more than what was necessary. They knew that if the galaxy truly understood how dangerous humans could be when provoked, they would be forced to take extreme measures. And so, the tension grew. The galaxy was on edge, waiting for humanity's next move. The more that ciphers and other species studied human behavior, the more they came to realize that humans were not a threat because of their technology or their physical strength. No, humans were dangerous because they had something no other species could replicate: the raw, untamed force of their emotions, a force that could shake the very foundation of the universe. As the summit continued, it became clear to everyone present. The question was no longer if humanity would become a threat. It was when. And that fear loomed over the entire galaxy like a storm cloud, waiting to break. The fear that had taken root in the hearts of the galactic community began to spread like wildfire. Even the most advanced species, those with vast knowledge of the universe and centuries of experience in diplomacy and warfare, were left uneasy by the revelation of humanity's potential. The ciphers, once the unchallenged rulers of reason and logic, had been forced to confront a truth they had never anticipated. Human anger, when unleashed, was an unstoppable force. The galaxy had always relied on peace, on measured steps, and calm negotiations. But humanity was different. They were a volatile mixture of intellect, emotion, and sheer unpredictability. As the Typhers and other species continued to study Earth's history, they realized that humanity's power didn't just come from their ability to fight wars or wield advanced technology. It came from something far more primal, the raw intensity of their emotions, the power they could harness when pushed to their limits. The ancient records, scattered across the galaxy, contained fragmented accounts of humanity's earliest encounters with other species. The stories were often dismissed as myth or exaggeration, tales of powerful warriors and destructive leaders. But now, with the knowledge of what had happened between the Typhers and the humans, the other species began to piece together the truth. Humanity's history was littered with instances where their emotional outbursts had shaped the course of entire civilizations. The Hethrians, known for their mastery of energy manipulation, studied the records of human wars. They noted how, in the darkest times, when humans were faced with the greatest challenges, they had been able to tap into a force unlike any other. During times of extreme anger, humans didn't just fight for survival. They became something more, something powerful enough to change the fate of entire worlds. Some records spoke of ancient warriors whose fury could level cities, of leaders who, in moments of pure rage, could rally entire nations to their cause with a single word or action. The other species, once so sure of their superiority, began to realize that the key to understanding humanity was not their physical strength or technology, but their emotional resilience. While other species had evolved to suppress their emotions in the name of logic and peace, humans had embraced theirs, for better or worse. This was their strength, and it was terrifying. As the Galactic Council met again, this time in a more secretive manner, discussions grew increasingly urgent. The fear of human anger had now become a matter of survival. The representatives from the Zolothians, the Hethrians, and even the peaceful Duronians began to debate what to do next. Could they reason with humanity? Could they offer peace and coexistence without risking triggering a catastrophic event? Or was it too late? "We cannot continue to ignore this," said Orin, the Zylothian representative. His normally calm voice was laced with a rare edge of panic. "The humans are unpredictable. Their anger is a weapon they can wield without even realizing it. If we allow them to spread throughout the galaxy, we risk bringing them to our doorstep. We must contain them before they become an even greater threat. But containment will only make them more dangerous," Valak, the Hethrian scholar, countered. "We cannot underestimate their emotional intelligence. They will not be controlled, especially when pushed. History has shown that they thrive under pressure, that they channel their rage into something greater. If we try to contain them, we risk triggering exactly what we fear." The Uronians, a species known for their unparalleled knowledge of communication and diplomacy, suggested another course of action. "We must approach humanity with understanding. We have to find a way to tap into their emotional depth without provoking their anger. If we can build a bridge, if we can establish trust, we might be able to work with them rather than against them." But there was a hesitation in their voices, a reluctance to trust the humans. The Uronians, for all their wisdom, knew how delicate the balance was. They had seen what happened when another species had underestimated the power of emotion. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Elena and her team were struggling with their own version of the truth. They had long known that humanity's emotions were volatile, but they had never fully understood the extent of their power until that fateful meeting with the Typhers. Now, with the eyes of the galaxy upon them, the Lina and the human leaders knew they had a choice to make. Would they keep the truth about their species hidden, continuing to play the role of the naive, unthreatening newcomers in the galactic community? Or would they embrace their anger, their strength, and make their mark on the universe? Elena stood in the command center, staring at a holographic map of the galaxy, the hum of machinery and soft chatter of her team in the background. The pressure weighed heavily on her shoulders. The Typhers had left, but their warning was clear. Humanity's rage was something no one could predict or control. It wasn't just a simple emotional outburst. It was a force that could reshape the very fabric of space. "Captain, we've received another transmission from the Typhers," one of her officers said, breaking her from her thoughts. Alina turned, her gaze hardening. "Put it through." The hologram flickered, and the familiar face of Serac, the Typher leader, appeared before her. His expression was as calm as ever, but there was a visible tension in his posture. "Captain Alina," he began, his voice steady but laden with an unspoken warning, "we've shared our concerns with the Council. The other species are beginning to take notice of humanity's potential. They are afraid, and they are looking to you for answers. We need to know, what are you planning? Will you control your people, or will you let your anger rule you?" Alina felt a knot form in her stomach. The question was not just a diplomatic one. It was a test. The Typhers were giving humanity an ultimatum. Would they suppress their emotions, put on a facade of peace, or would they embrace the power they had always kept hidden? Alina knew the galaxy was watching, waiting for humanity's next move, and whatever choice they made, it would determine not only their future but the future of the entire galaxy. She took a deep breath and replied, her voice steady, "We are not your enemy, Serac, but we will not be silenced. Humanity's strength lies in our emotions, in our ability to fight for what we believe in, even when the odds are against us. If the galaxy cannot understand that, then we will stand alone, but we will not back down." Serac nodded slowly, the weight of her words settling between them. "I see. Then you have made your choice. The galaxy will soon understand what humanity is capable of. But remember, Captain, anger can be both a weapon and a curse. Be careful with it." The transmission ended, and Alina stood in silence, her mind racing. The galaxy was on the edge of something momentous. And humanity had just made its first true step onto the galactic stage. The question now was not if the universe would tremble at humanity's wrath, but when. As the days passed, word spread of the humans' declaration. Some species, like the Typhers, had already begun to prepare. Others, more skeptical, dismissed the warning as yet another human exaggeration. But there was one thing everyone could agree on: humanity's future, whether it was one of cooperation or destruction, was no longer in their hands. It rested in the hands of those who could master the most dangerous power of all, human emotion. And for better or worse, humanity was about to find out just how far that power could reach. As the weeks passed, tension in the galaxy grew. The universe was a vast, interconnected web of civilizations, each with its own agendas and goals. But now, a shadow had been cast over all of it, a fear that humanity, a seemingly small and primitive species, might disrupt the delicate balance that had been established for eons. The truth had been exposed, and humanity's potential had become the galaxy's greatest uncertainty. The Cyphers, now on high alert, began to fortify their defenses, ensuring that their peaceful, intellectual nature would not be exploited. They knew that the raw, uncontrollable force of human anger could obliterate their delicate balance. And the other species, the Zolothians, the Uronians, the Hethrians, all of them, though initially skeptical, began to take humanity's threat more seriously. On Earth, Captain Alina and her team wrestled with the weight of their own decision. After the transmission with the Typhers, it was clear that their next steps would define humanity's future. No longer could humanity hide in the shadows of the galaxy. Their emotional power was no longer just a well-kept secret. It was something that could either unite or divide the universe. The pressure was immense. Earth's leadership convened emergency meetings with diplomats, scientists, and military strategists working around the clock to come up with a unified approach to the growing intergalactic tension. The world was split. Some factions within the government wanted to suppress humanity's more volatile emotions, hoping to present Earth as a peaceful ally in the galactic community. They believed that cooperation with the other species was the only way to ensure humanity's survival. But there were others, more hardened individuals, who saw the human emotions, especially their anger, as something to embrace. They saw it as humanity's greatest strength, the power to not only survive but to thrive in the most hostile corners of the galaxy. "We are not here to bow before others," one of them, a military general named Gage, declared at a gathering of Earth's top leaders. "We are here to assert our place. If they cannot accept our anger, then they can stay out of our way." As the debate raged on Earth, the Typhers and the other galactic species had begun to formulate a plan of their own. The Typhers, realizing the true scope of humanity's emotional power, called for an emergency summit of the Council of United Species, a gathering of the galaxy's most influential races. The goal was to decide once and for all how to handle humanity's rise. If left unchecked, the galaxy feared, the humans would become a force so powerful it would threaten the very foundations of galactic order. The summit took place on a neutral space station, far from any homeworld. Representatives from every major race in the galaxy assembled, their faces grave, the air thick with the weight of their decision. Orin, the Xylothian representative, was the first to speak. "Humanity's rise is inevitable," he said, his voice resonating with authority. "Their emotional intensity, when directed, could be a weapon beyond our comprehension. They have the potential to topple us all if we don't find a way to either control them or push them into compliance." Valak, the Hethrian scholar, nodded slowly. "But we cannot simply control them. Humans are not like the other species in this galaxy. Their emotions are not something we can suppress or reprogram. They have always fought for survival, and when pushed, they tap into a power we cannot match. We must find a way to work with them, not against them." The Uronians, known for their diplomatic prowess, were cautious in their response. "Perhaps it's time we acknowledge the truth. We cannot force humanity into compliance. Their strength is not just in their anger, but in their drive to protect what they love. They value freedom, individualism, and the right to choose. If we wish to coexist with them, we must respect that." Serac, the Typher leader, remained silent for a long time, his eyes thoughtful. The Typhers had prided themselves on their calmness, their logic, their reasoned approach to all things. But now they faced something they could not fully understand. "We may not be able to control them," he said quietly, "but we must find a way to neutralize the danger they pose. We cannot afford to ignore the threat any longer." The room was heavy with the weight of his words. It was clear that the council was divided. Some believed that humanity had to be restrained, while others thought that the galaxy had to adapt to the unpredictable nature of the human spirit. No matter which course of action was taken, one thing was certain: the galaxy could no longer remain indifferent to humanity. On Earth, meanwhile, Elena and her team had made a decision. Despite the fear and the warnings from the galactic community, they knew that humanity could not hide forever. They could not, in good conscience, suppress what made them who they were. If they had to face the universe on their terms, they would do so with pride and strength. But they also knew the path ahead would not be easy. The human fleet, though powerful, was still young, and their technology, though advancing rapidly, was no match for the seasoned forces of the galaxy. But what the humans had, what no other species could replicate, was their sheer will, their drive, and yes, their anger. The decision was made. Humanity would send a message to the galaxy. They would not bow down. They would not be cowed by fear or by the power of the established civilizations. They would stand tall, face the challenge, and fight if necessary. Elena's fleet, a small but formidable force, gathered in orbit around Earth, ready to embark on their first journey beyond their homeworld. Their destination: the heart of the galactic community, where the Council of United Species was meeting. They would present their case to the universe, humanity's case, and demand recognition, respect, and a place in the galactic order. Captain Elena addressed her crew, standing before them in the command center. Her voice was steady, but her eyes burned with the fire of determination. "We are not the weaklings the galaxy believes us to be. We are not the ones who will hide in fear. We will show them that humanity's strength lies in more than just our ability to survive. Our strength lies in our emotions, in our will to rise, to fight, and to win. The crew nodded in silent agreement. The time for diplomacy was over. Humanity had chosen its path, and it was one forged with the fire of defiance. The universe would soon learn that when humanity stood together, they were not just a species, they were a force that could not be ignored. The fleet's engines roared to life, and the ships shot into the black expanse of space. As the stars stretched before them, Captain Elena knew that their arrival at the summit would change everything. Whether they were met with fear, respect, or hostility, humanity would make its mark on the galaxy. And they would do so with the fury of a species that had been underestimated for far too long. The galaxy had no idea what was coming, but humanity, for the first time, was ready to show the universe exactly what they were capable of. As the human fleet glided through the vast expanse of space, the tension aboard the ships was palpable. Each crew member knew that the journey ahead would be unlike anything humanity had ever faced before. The fate of their species, and potentially the future of the entire galaxy, was hanging in the balance. The fear and uncertainty that had plagued the galaxy about human anger were now about to collide with the reality of human determination. Captain Elena stood at the helm of the flagship, her eyes fixed on the starry horizon. She could feel the weight of the decision she had made. There would be no turning back now. Earth had committed to this path, and she, along with her crew, would be the ones to see it through. They weren't just flying to attend a summit. They were flying to change the course of history. The fleet, a collection of human warships and diplomatic vessels, was ready for whatever lay ahead. The ships were armed, but they also carried the best negotiators, scientists, and diplomats humanity had to offer. It was clear that this meeting would be one of both force and diplomacy. Humanity had a message to send, and it was a message that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. They weren't just seeking peace, they were demanding recognition. The destination: the Council of United Species Headquarters, a massive space station, neutral ground where representatives from all corners of the galaxy gathered to discuss and resolve interstellar matters. This time, however, the stakes were much higher. This wasn't just another summit. This was humanity's moment to stand on equal footing with the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. As the fleet neared the station, a fleet of cipher ships intercepted them in a calculated move, signaling the beginning of a diplomatic face-off. The Typhers, still unsettled by the events of their previous encounter with the humans, had been given the responsibility of acting as the first line of communication. Their ships positioned themselves in front of the human fleet, their sleek, silver surfaces gleaming with an eerie calm. The message was clear. Humanity had arrived, but the Cyphers would not make it easy for them. Captain Elena's voice echoed through the communication system, her tone firm but respectful. "This is Captain Elena of the United Earth Fleet. We are here to attend the summit as agreed. We come in peace, but make no mistake, humanity will not be treated as lesser beings." The Cypher leader, Serac, appeared on the holographic display before her. His usually composed face was now filled with a rare sense of unease. "Captain Elena," he said, his voice calculated but tight, "we had hoped for a different outcome, but it seems humanity is determined to push forward, regardless of the consequences. You must understand that this summit will not be a simple diplomatic negotiation. The entire galaxy is watching. And your people, your emotions, they are not something we can easily control." Elena met his gaze, her expression unwavering. "We are not asking for control, Serac. We are asking for respect. Humanity will not cower in fear. Our anger is not something to be feared. It is something to be understood. We will not back down." Serac's eyes narrowed slightly, but he said nothing more. The Typher fleet withdrew, and the human ships moved forward, docking at the space station. The atmosphere inside the station was charged with tension. Representatives from the galaxy's most powerful species filled the halls, their eyes trained on the humans as they entered. The air was thick with a mix of curiosity, fear, and skepticism. Captain Elena and her delegation were led into the grand chamber of the council, where the representatives from the galaxy's most advanced races gathered. The council chamber was a massive, spherical space, with holographic displays projecting images of the different planets and star systems. Each race was represented by their highest-ranking officials, some towering and imposing, others sleek and ethereal. But all shared a single commonality: the fear of humanity. Orin, the Xylothian representative, spoke first. His voice echoed through the chamber, his tone sharp and cold. Humanity has been a mystery for far too long. You are a species that is difficult to predict. Your anger, your emotions, your ability to channel such destructive power, it is something the galaxy cannot ignore. You are not like us. You are dangerous. Valak, the Hethrian scholar, stepped forward next. His eyes were thoughtful, his tone more measured than Orin's. But there is another side to this. Humanity is not just a force of destruction. We have observed your capacity for creativity, for innovation, for resilience. You are a species capable of incredible things. Things we have yet to fully understand. If you can harness your power, perhaps it can be used for more than just conflict. The Uronians, known for their diplomatic prowess, spoke in softer tones. Perhaps it is time we listen. Perhaps we need to understand humanity on a deeper level before we make any decisions about their place in the galaxy. We cannot continue to view them as a threat without first knowing what they truly are. The debate raged for hours, with each species voicing their concerns, their theories, and their fears. But the humans remained quiet, observing, waiting. It wasn't until the end of the session, when the room had grown tense and weary, that Captain Alina stood up, her voice clear and commanding. "It's obvious that you fear us," she said, her eyes sweeping across the room. "And that fear is rooted in one thing: our emotions. You fear our anger because you cannot understand it. But what you fail to see is that our anger is not just a weapon. It is the fuel for our survival. We do not fight to destroy. We fight to protect what we value. We do not unleash our emotions without reason. We are driven by love, by loyalty, by a desire to see our people, our families, our worlds thrive. And yes, when pushed too far, we can be fierce. But we are also capable of compassion, of empathy, of creativity. We are not simply a species of rage. We are a species of infinite potential." She paused, letting her words sink in. "You cannot judge us by one emotion. You must see the full scope of who we are. Humanity will not be controlled, but we will cooperate if you are willing to respect us. We do not wish to rule the galaxy. We wish to be a part of it, on equal terms." The room fell silent. The representatives from each species exchanged glances, their thoughts a mix of disbelief, curiosity, and realization. For the first time in the meeting, they were forced to consider something they had not before. Maybe humanity was not just a threat. Maybe they were something more. After what seemed like an eternity, Serac, the Typher leader, spoke again. His voice was measured, but there was a hint of hesitation in it now. "Perhaps we have underestimated you, Captain. Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to see you not as a potential threat, but as a potential ally." Captain Alina nodded, a small, determined smile crossing her face. "Then let the galaxy see what humanity is truly capable of." As the summit drew to a close, the representatives of the galaxy were left with a decision: accept humanity's place in the galactic community, or continue to view them as a danger to be controlled. The room buzzed with quiet discussions, but one thing was clear: humanity had made its mark. And as the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, Captain Alina knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy had just witnessed the power of human will, and it was only a matter of time before humanity's true potential would be realized. Whether as allies or adversaries, humanity had proven they would no longer be ignored. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. When humans get angry, it's not just a threat. It's a force that can change everything. And the universe would never be the same again.